Thanks for listening. If you're basically still, listening to the podcast, I just want to appreciate the time that you're taking to listen to it. You know, doing these podcasts is not necessarily like anything that I'm trying to do for any statement. It's an outlet to be able to kind of speak, to the world in the hopes, or not in the hope that no one listens to it, but being able to know that your voice can be heard by searching on the web is, I find that fascinating. And I want to be able to let people know that you can do that with websites like Anchor.fm. And Anchor.fm is a application for your phone or your desktop where you can quickly create podcasts. I use it to um, I use my microphone, my Yeti microphone, on the desktop. And today I'm using my computer, my PC. I usually have my Mac I would use, but I'm using PC right now. And I hook it up, and I could just record straight from the web browser. The transition, there's like these transition links that allows you to add these transition pieces into each segment, so you can kind of like listen. You can have like music in between different segments, and if you are not listening to the podcast on Anchor, you can actually listen to it on the Spotify, which is it doesn't have it doesn't show the segments. So the segments still seem to be only available on Anchor. If I find out where there's available to that, I can let people know. So that's Anchor.fm, and thank you. Okay, so today I want to just basically talk about, building out the podcast. I think that one of the things I always say about, starting a podcast is that you have like so much that you want to talk about. And I want to, I don't know what's actually interesting to actually start off talking. So I feel like it's best to make something that I would necessarily want to listen to. And then while I do that, I take notes, a little bit of notes every day about all the things that reflects, that reflects upon, during my daily life, going to work, learning new things at home, anything, talking to people, talking to friends, family, whatever. And then try to put all this stuff together in some sort of coherent storytelling to help other people to, maybe find it entertaining. I think one thing that I actually noticed is pretty difficult talking by yourself. So, so I think that I would probably would want to, maybe start having other people talk on the show about themselves or about the things that they care about, and see if there's any, room to, elaborate on that. And also figure out like, learning new things is important too. So I spend a lot of time, learning about like Skillshare and, Udemy or whatever, for anything to quickly, to stay on top of some of the things that helps me to learn how to do something better. And so, for instance, like I have an idea on like how to put together a podcast, but sometimes I forget about like what I may want to have on the podcast. So having the podcast, I think that I wanted to make sure I have things organized. So when I go ahead and I keep track of all the things I want to talk about, I also want to start building out like a transcript, like really like I talk about, the things I'm going to talk about, when I'm going to talk about them. Keep track of all the little links and clips that I might want to use in the show, and and just try to find a way to make it where I want to make it where it's timeless, where somebody can go ahead and listen to this anytime, in the future, and somehow be able to gain something from it. And I talk about that from the mindset of how some of the podcasts I listened to when I was, first listening to podcasts, but before podcasts became like this ubiquitous thing, podcasting was this gimmicky thing. Is it really gimmicky now? I wouldn't say it's gimmicky now. People are really doing a lot more with it these days. But back in the day, I listened to people who like lived in Japan. Like I think I said that in a few episodes before. Was one guy, hello from Japan, and Gaijin teaching English in Japan, and I think it was going John from Japan or Jason in Japan. Justin in Japan, I forget what it was, where Justin in Japan was a part of the Navy, and he was married. He would like live in the Navy, and he was like talking about like living in Japan, all the things he figured out that was weird about Japan, and then he talked about like the trains, and then he also had like this big plan about when he comes back to America after he finished the Navy, he was going to go to school for nursing and then like travel across the country with his family. And it was really nice to hear him talk about these things every single day. The show was really cool. He had a few people listening to him too. I remember listening some of the times he has like these emails people would say to him, and I just thought it was so cool to, to be able to talk to people about like things that's going on without like worrying about the backlash. It's like I feel like podcasting is actually stronger because with YouTube, like if you think about YouTube or you think about like streaming like on Twitch or something like that, like everything has to be engaged. You have to actually sit back and make sure that your setting is not as too doesn't pull away from what you're talking about. You have to constantly have things on the screen to be talking about. You have to have people who are interested in those things talking to you, and I feel that I want to make the podcasting that you can listen to this anywhere. You can listen to it on the train. You can listen to this in the car. You can listen to this, when you're sleeping. You can listen to this. You can even take these clips and use it to, use it in your own podcast. Because you can talk about these things. And I actually like it because I would like to be able to connect with my family. I feel like working and living a couple of an hour or two away from my family makes it pretty difficult to meet with them and talk to them all the time. And I wanted to try to find a way to, I guess, address some of the things that I'm looking to do without people being afraid that oh, they're gonna put their things online and people are gonna find out. Like people who I mean, like I really feel you if you have a plan on what you want to say and how you want to say it, you can make sure that it gets to the people that you want to listen to. And it's not about, you always have people who you always have pros and cons of everything. You always have enemies, you have friends, and it's not really about having no enemies and having all friends. And it's not about just having all friends and all enemies and no friends. I mean, people do things for different things, but the thing that's different about it is that it's you. You are the host. You are the creator. You can adapt and reinvent yourself and keep changing as the time goes on. Like I think like that's why I changed the background of the of the cover art for the podcast, because I'm not really focusing on the content per se right now. What I'm focusing on is the building the habits of actually sitting down and having a conversation about something and being able to address some things that goes on in my life. And then just being able to just do that helps me to focus. Once I get, the hang of that, then I can start focusing on the content. Being able to write and to read and to just tell stories is really important. And I would like to be able to get more into it, more like, how I listen to Radio Lab or WMYC, Freakonomics, or I think what's this, another show, Terry Gross, Fresh Air. I used to listen to a lot of these podcasts when I was working as a mental health therapy aide for a state organization, state government agency, and mainly I would just hook it up my iPhone or iPod to the to like a computer or to some sort of loudspeaker, and then just like have it playing at night or during the day, or in the car, and I was able to just, I was able to just listen to a lot of things. It's just a great way to um, to gather information, and I think that it's really important to take doses of information constructively, in this fashion. And we don't have to necessarily be some sort of like, anchor person, or we don't have to necessarily be, some supreme expert that has millions of fans. I feel like it's weird to start from there. I would like to start from what I love to do. I'm a big fan of like anything technology, anything that where the society changes because of the technology. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like some sort of computer device. It can be anything from a system that takes advantage of the devices, like taking advantage of the gig economy, which I'm probably going to get into the next segment. And and these are the things that I think is great, because you might have somebody who knows you from work or from school that might search you or might find your information somehow. And if somebody does hear something about you or find something about you, what would you want it to be? You get it? I think that everybody has things that they want to talk about, but it doesn't have to be, things that like that everybody agrees with. It can just be just things that you want to, say and you wanted to address. And as long as you're not like ridiculously like trying to offend someone, then I think that it's fine. And there might be people saying that not to basically offend people, but I mean, I do not want to outward offend people, but I feel like, it's not like anything violent. Like I feel like, we're going to have to deal with that in this new world we're running into now, where everybody's going to be, doing their own thing, and there's going to be all different ways that people are going to be, communicating and connecting. And I think that it would be great to try to connect with people in such a way that you might find more people who is willing to listen to you, just because it's not a invasive or a threatening situation. It's basically their choice to click on your video and listen or not. And that's basically what it is. So if you reach, into my videos, and my audio videos, I thank you. I really appreciate that time. And if you have anything you want to say, you want to talk about something, just drop me an email. Okay, samuel.chris@gmail.com. And I'm using that email because I feel that this is one of my oldest emails, and one of the emails I started when I started using Gmail. And I think that if somebody does use my email address and they would search it, I would like it to come up. I would like it to come up that way. I would want it to be able to be something that, hi, thank you for, Googling me and finding me, and maybe you want to listen, and that's it. So I think that's it for right now. The next segment I'm going to basically talk about is the gig economy and what I think about that. All right. So before I go ahead and go into what the show is basically about, I want to talk about a few things that happened in the news, and just go over some of the things that I think was great to just talk about. So one of the things that I actually use is YouTube. I have YouTube Premium, and YouTube Premium is pretty much a subscription that allows you to not only watch YouTube videos, but you're also able to watch subscriptions of like, not subscriptions, but you can also, what would be the term for that? Like, there's premium movies and series that are only available to people who have a premium subscription. It also allows you to be able to download your videos that you want to watch at a later time to your phone. I find that a really great option when it comes down to traveling. When you're on the train. As I said in previous episodes, living in United States in the New York City area, the train system doesn't necessarily provide signal between stations. So being able to watch something consistently while you're on the train is invaluable. So I think I like that just for that much, and being able to look at other things that are not necessarily, I guess, like educational, like worthy. It's like sometimes you don't want to like watch something about learn something new, or watch some random news. Rather than it doesn't have to be Netflix or Hulu. So I definitely I definitely appreciate my YouTube subscription. If I had to pick out of one of the many subscriptions I have, I would probably keep my YouTube channel subscription. All right, moving on. So one thing I wanted to talk about was last month the Tyler Perry studio, Atlanta studio, like just like had like a major event where I think like they had like a lot of the big celebrity names, like Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Cicely Tyson, Sidney Poitier, and the names go on and on and on. I mean, I think even like names like like Bill Clinton was there, Hillary Clinton was there as well. If you look through the Twitter feeds, I was looking through how they actually set things up. It was really nice how they put things together like that. It must be just amazing, for people of color to especially including myself to be able to see this. I watched a YouTube video this morning on the ordeal from a small YouTube channel, smaller than like Fox News or something, but I was really happy to see that, and I just wanted to address that in today's YouTube. In today's podcast, because I might drop a link in either the description or in the label, in the new subscription label, the email newsletter, so that way you could look into it as well. Another another video that I wanted to kind of talk about was let me see. It was actually the idea of what we were talking about before. Well, for instance, when you're in New York City, also there's this idea that you don't need a car, but you do need a car sometimes. And then if you don't have a car, you're forced to have to, deal with parking your car sometimes on alternate side parking days where if you don't move your car, you get a ticket, and you have to usually double park. So I got like a ticket, and it was it was kind of weird. Like it was actually like two tickets within the same time frame. Like I mean, not the same frame, like mostly in the same. Like it was two tickets within 8 minutes, and I was just kind of like surprised on like how that happened. I mean, like I was double parked, but like how many tickets can you get? The car wasn't moved at all. It was basically double parked while I was waiting for the time for the alternate side parking to end. And so I decided to, look online, and I did a Google search, and I was able to find these things called dash cameras. So what I want to do is I want to find out, how these tickets are being filled out, and if you wanted to be able to plead not guilty in the DMV, you can actually take these videos and submit them for insurances and stuff like that. So I actually looked at one of the dash cameras I like was called Vava, and it's on Amazon. I think it's about maybe $115. It connects to your phone, so it uploads from your phone relatively quickly to any of your social media accounts. And I think it's a great option that you may need, because as time goes on, being able to have the right amount of information or evidence to prove anything that happens to your car or happens to you outside is important. And without all the Uber drivers out there and Lyft drivers, they have it in their cars too. So, but I definitely wanted to try to see how it is, and maybe even start to do some record some footages from there, and maybe even use it in like future videos or something like that. But that's another video. And the last video for today that I wanted to go ahead and share was just bringing it up right now. It's 2 seconds. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to go ahead and talk about was how the trying to get to the link. All right. So how there's another website. There's another podcast I listen to. It's called Brain Body and Brain TV, and there's just three people on the show, and they had one episode from the I think it was the podcast number 31, where they talked about like finding your life purpose, and they kind of brought up some meanings on like being able to pay attention to your life's purpose. It helps you. Yeah, that clip I actually was like wanted to kind of address. I mean, that's one thing I actually feel is important to pay attention to. That the fact that your life purpose is like the things that you how would you basically say it? The things that comes from your life, the problems that come in your life during your regular whatever you're doing normally, well, tends to it tends to brings problems. Whether there's no amount, like it's not like if you do less you get more. I mean, you get less. If you do more you get more. I think that there's one saying I actually heard of, which was there are people there are like poor people problems, rich people problems, single people problems, married people problems, students who go to school, people who don't go to school. So it's not really about avoiding the problems, it's about managing them. And because I started these podcasts, I kind of like listen to relatively similar podcasts to kind of get the understanding of what I would want to kind of talk about on my show, and the things I would want to bring to it. Because right now my show is kind of like in the building stages. I really don't know where I want to go with it. I would like to have it where it's like a interview stage, but it's more like a log of my the things that are going on, in my daily, life. I feel like I spend so much time, you know, gathering information. Uh, I don't have enough time to learn anything or to even share it and get other people's input. So my right now I think that being able to easily record and up journal, keep track of all the things going on in my life, and then try to, I guess, teach it on this show by like explaining it to me, to you, explaining it to myself, but ultimately to everybody else. But it would help me to pay attention to myself more, and hopefully be able to get more people's insight. Somebody that is listening, or somebody that is not, necessarily, hopefully you get like good feedback and bad feedback. You can get people to understand what's going on, and that's my idea for this actual particular experiment I'm doing. So I'll take a break, and when I come back, I'm gonna basically talk about dive right into the actual speed talk of my whole building this whole entrepreneurial podcast, and finding ways to channel the thoughts and ideas into something that can be utilized by other people. Okay. Good evening, and this is Chris. Welcome back to another episode of Yamanote in Tech and Society. Tonight, I wanted to go ahead and just talk about, well, what I speak about every week is mostly about what's going on in my life, about entrepreneurship, building out my brand, focusing on um, learning how to, start a podcast, and also to be able to structurally manage I guess, like the infinite amount of information that is being poured on to me and to you, throughout life. So I hope I got a good show for you today, and what we're gonna basically speak to about is mainly the ideas of working in like gig economy work and being able to focus on starting your own like online business. What are some of the tools that are available to you? And my thoughts on having to talk about public speaking, and getting your name out there and talking about things that you like to a bunch of strangers. So when we get back, hopefully we'll be able to start talking about one of these things. Stay tuned. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't really. I wasn't actually recording there. But it was only a minute. So, all right. So, thanks for listening. This is a gig economy, and the good and the bad of the of basically getting into it. So, if you're not familiar with gig economy, it's basically it's like a way where people who have things they want to get done, and then people who believe they can get it done are brought to this platform, for instance, TaskRabbit, to get hired for a job or a gig, and you're supposed to like receive like and usually the wage is up to you, but based on the apps, the price can fluctuate. It's driven by demand and supply. So, it's a fairly new concept. If you have been in, and if you have been, utilizing some form of gig economy with stuff like Uber for like taxi driving. So if you would hire a cab, you hire like somebody who just signs up on the app and can just use it to drive you somewhere. That's a form of the gig job, or Instacart, where you would sign up and you would do shopping items online, and that would be something pretty cool as well, where you would sign up and you would get some random person to do their grocery shopping, and based on the load, the amount, the weight of the groceries plus the distance, you can really make between $25 to $30 an hour. I don't think that the approach for these things are being explained clearly. So I'm going to go into that a little bit. So some people think that it's the wages just doesn't really equal the amount of work that gets done. Like there are sometimes you may get, somebody may say $10 to go from, maybe 5 miles away from your house to do some, small work, or maybe the person has like $100 worth of, groceries, but they live on like, the fifth or sixth floor, and you have to you have to lift them upstairs and downstairs, So, I think this just reflects the value of what people think these gig jobs are for. And many people who probably jump to these first really, really need to like make money, and they try anything. And I think that it's not for that. I think that TaskRabbit has a really good saying where they try to say neighbors help neighbors. Where if you live in an area and you are a licensed plumber, you could build your network with the people in your area because you are a licensed plumber, and you can start to help people learn how to take care of their plumbing in their house. It's odd jobs, and then you can do that for cheap because you know them, and then they give you, and you use the platform to work on it, it help. Basically, you pay a small fee for them, but it helps with you know building trust, and maybe you can even expand upon that. Maybe you can even have it where you can start to teach people small skills that people need to do, and that need to do to help their plumbing out, instead of you going ahead and being in every single one of them. Maybe you could just sit in your house, and you just, you remote into the house, and you tell people what to do. They show you show them what to do, how you're doing it. And based on that, you can keep track of maybe 5 or 6 people. And the thing about it is it's just that some things you probably can and cannot do based on your town and city and who you trust in there. But I think it's going to be up to the people on the platform to actually get the the benefit from it. So, and I give you another example. I was on it and I was doing, like, I was trying everything. I tried the deliveries, walking the dogs. I tried for furniture assembly. I tried cleaning, and I found out that cleaning was more. It was more interesting to people, or more popular, to get people to come in there. And sometimes I started out where it was like, one was like $25 an hour, and then I would get somebody who just wants to do just 1 hour, and then it was like, okay, just go in there and do their bathroom. Their bathroom would be nasty. And I have some pictures and video of me like actually doing it. I'll probably put it in the link, so that way you can, like, look at it and see yourself. But it was fun, because I don't know, but for some reason it was just like, it wasn't like something I had to do. It wasn't something I had to, like, I was doing because I was doing it because I kind of wanted to do it. And I think that people are a little bit weirded out by the fact they have like a stranger in their house. But I think we need to get to a point in our society that we can't be afraid of everybody. I mean, we're not really safe, just because you lock your door. Like, you still have to trust, the that the gas company is maintaining the gas of your building, or electric company is making sure that the power is up and running. You got to also make sure that the person driving next to you at 65 miles an hour is alert and not on their phone. I look, if you think about things from that standpoint, you will see that there's like there's like an amazing amount of things you can be worried about. I have to understand, if you're on that app, yeah, there are going to be people who's not going to always do things very well. But some of the apps try to promote where, if somebody's actually doing something well for you, they actually give you like a discount because you're using the same person. Taskrabbit does that. Every single time you sign up for like a recurring deal, they give you more. They give you a discount. But if you're going to pay, some people feel like they can be safe by, always using somebody else new, when not really. You can't really guarantee that every single person is going to be, that way. You can also have it where you can find somebody who wants to do it, and then tell them to go on Taskrabbit or something like that, and they work through there for you. But I also found it was very difficult, me doing. I think one day, one episode, I'm gonna have to. It's gonna have to be an entire episode where I just talk about every single task. But it was kind of interesting. I actually, I think I made a fairly amount of money on it. I thought it was really great to do it for, how would we say it? Like, I wanted to do it in a way where, if I work as a contractor, normally the days I don't work, you don't get paid, right? So I wanted to do it where I would do it 2-3 times a week, until I made enough money that I would make in a day. So if I make like $800 in a day, that's like roughly how much money I make in a day. And then I would probably try to take that money. I would try to see if I can do like 2-3 jobs, and then once I made $800 that day, then I would take a day off, or that would be like a vacation day for me, and It's where I'm not losing out on like different things. And I also found out that during the holiday season, people are much nicer. People want things done quicker and faster. People are much more giving. So I just think it's great to just I don't know, just one thing, you're helping out people. People, there are some people, they weren't all bad, but there were some people who actually needed help. Like there was like, old senior citizens who needed their groceries picked up, and and being able to have the feedback that they would say that you're doing a great job, or thank you for helping me. It was great to know that you actually helping somebody. I mean, sometimes at my job, I would do things that I think would be phenomenal. I would save time, I would save money somehow, and nobody would really care. You know, and what I mean by nobody would care, I wouldn't get that same, you don't get that good feedback. I imagine if I had all the jobs I've worked on every day, I could have a feedback. I don't have that. So this job really puts, not just you get feedback, but you also get feedback to the customer. So yeah. So basically, moving forward, the reason why I think that we have to pay attention to this gig economy idea is because it's not going away. Like as much as people think that it's a fad, it's not. All right. The internet is it's growing, it's becoming more safer, more effective at getting things done, meaning we're learning, we're trying to even like be able to stop using actual fiat money, which is like real money, cash, and start using digital money, like digital Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, which is we're still far away from it, but it's gonna be something where we're gonna have to trust each other. We're gonna have to, because we're all in this together. We're all in this world, in this life together. And if you listen to my last podcast, I mean about the 7 habits of effective people, highly effective people. They say that our circle of influence is increased by the power of the positive energy that we put into it. You need to find things more important than to yourself. I mean, Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game. I read another book I'm basically reading. He basically says that we need to have things that are more important than ourselves to basically work on. We need to feel that our jobs are more than just a paycheck, because there's a whole bunch of jobs out there who give paychecks. It has to be more than that. So, and another thing about it is like you have these millennials, which if people are not familiar with what millennials are, millennials are people who were born between 1981 and 1996. And those people would be anywhere between, I think, 17. I think it would be anywhere between like 23. Let me see if I could can't do that by math in my head. Anyway, like anyway, and them or Generation Z, which is like 0 to 21 years old right now. So, knowing that gig workers are going to be judged and based on, paid based on their ability to deliver outcomes, we have to find out there's to be more work. So I think the best way to do this would be where everybody would actually start working on it. It's not about just one, you live in your apartment, you don't do it. You should do it. If you feel that, you don't want any stranger coming to your house and doing it, then you should have everybody on your floor who's using, everybody inside your building who's working on it, find a way to hire somebody to actually do it for your job. And then you pay that person very well, and you would never have to worry about strangers coming to your house. You see how it can turn into something more than just, waiting for somebody else to do it. I mean, that's what I really think it's about. Gig work also has like the potential of becoming more meaningful. When you decide to cut loose, like your employer, if you decide to stop doing full-time employment and you go your own way, you work on something more personal. It's really great because it leads to less separation between what you do for a living and who you are. And I don't know if any people do things right now because they believe in it. If you are if you're a quality assurance tester and you basically are testing an application for for a business that you're working for, and are you passionate about quality assurance? Are you passionate about testing? Are you passionate about user testing and what goes into it? Are you thinking about the business and the customers? It's very hard to gauge that from employee to employee, so you can definitely say that, if you want to cure the employee engagement and productivity crisis, you can definitely start to, find it where you can get people. Maybe the person doesn't have to leave the job. Maybe you could just hire people who are really excited about their job, people who are also positive about the job. That usually tends to rub off on other people if the people are looking to actually stay there, but then you always have like the darker side to things, I mean, people always like to say things like, if you can't have a steady salary, you have paid sick leave and other benefits that might cause your sense of security to be much higher. But honestly, if you're living in a state that promotes the type of gig work or entrepreneurship, then this will basically work. You'll never have to worry about not having a job, and you'll probably be able to find a way to take advantage of maybe doing it for, while you're, as young as you possibly can. And, maybe when you're older, then you might be able to switch to more of a steady job, or maybe you can, you can have a steady business, and then you can actually have a business where I think Amazon does it, where you can start a business on your own, and then you can Amazon will give you I think Amazon Flex is what it's called. So you can buy a whole bunch of trucks and hire people to work for you, and then like you are you're the owner of the company, but it's your company, so you can take care of yourself somehow. You can also get insurance and stuff like that, to help you out. But I find it exciting because now you have more of a reason to get up in the morning. And I don't know. I mean, to me, I do like the idea that, I'm bringing home each year, an extra 10, 20 grand, let's just say, for example, and it's written off like a business. If you are sign up for a business, and you can take care of things, you can also, if whatever you learn, you can even share that with people. I really do like that. So I think that's gonna be it for today. I mean, I probably will have to do another video where I will share all the information, the videos and pictures and stuff like that, and what I think about it. But I think the future is pretty bright for it, especially with the fact that we're going to have more other forms of income, like universal basic income, where people basically be getting some sort of like freedom. I mean, like this, they call it a freedom dividend, but it's gonna be like a job. It's not gonna be like some money you make it, maybe $1,000. It might be a little bit more. I don't think it's gonna be just $1,000, but $1,000 a month just for you being alive and being an American citizen, and that will help. If you have children or if you need to make ends meet, you can take care of those things. And hopefully, medicine and technology gets better, because that's what we're hoping for, right? That technology grows every single year, and we'll be able to see more transformations in how our lives work, and maybe we'll be able to have like cheaper things. So that's it. I thank you for listening. I really appreciate the time of putting into listening to it. I think that I really do like talking about it. I'm talking to myself, but it's not. Please, drop me an email, ksammy.chris@gmail.com. If you think I want to, make a specific, email address, I will. But for right now, I think I'm going to be using that because that's the email address that the email newsletter comes out. So thanks a lot, and take care.
You realize to your astonishment, there is no way at all of having your mind anywhere else but in the present moment. Because even when you think about the past or the future, you're doing it now, aren't you? And that results in a very curious transformation of consciousness. You feel that the present moment is flowing along and carrying you with it all the time. Just like the flow of the Tao. The flow of the Tao is what we would call the flow of the present. See? And you're with it. There's no way of being anywhere else. The Jungyong, the book called The Unwobbling Pivot, says the Tao is that from which one cannot deviate. That from which one can deviate is not the Tao. Or to put it into the form of a Zen story, the master Joshu said to Nansen, "What is the Tao?" Nansen replied, "Your everyday mind is the Tao." Joshu asked, "How do you get into a chord?" Nansen replied, "When you try to accord, you deviate."